Hey guys, it's Elizabeth and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be more of a serious topic. I am finally going to be sharing the time that I was assaulted. What I'm going to do for this video is split it up into two parts. This first video is going to be talking about how that person and I met, how we started seeing one another, and some of the red flags that I saw. There were a ton of red flags. Some of my friends were really against me being with this person, and some of my friends didn't really care or see the red flags or pay attention as much. There were so many things that were just standing in my way, and I felt like the universe was trying to tell me to not be with this person, and I didn't listen. So that's what this video is going to be about. Now, before we begin, I do have to give a disclaimer, which is also down in the description box, but it is that I will give as much detail as I possibly can, but I cannot say every single tiny thing that happened. I also cannot mention this person's name. I can't give him an initial, can't call him Bob, even though that's not his name. I'm going to call him my abuser. I'll say him, I'll say he, and that is what I have to do just for legal reasons. I finally went to the trial and I don't want to have to go back to Massachusetts, so I hope that you guys can really understand that. And it's just kind of to give him privacy as well. Not that I think he needs privacy, you know, I'm just trying to be a good person here. I met him at the very end of 2015 in December. He actually friend requested me December 16th, 2015 at 10:02 a.m. I wrote him, and I'm gonna have all of the screenshots right here. I blurred out his name and profile picture, so don't try to go find him because you won't be able to. But it says, "Hi, thanks for the friend request. I noticed that you have worked at a summer camp. Do you still work there?" So we were just kind of getting introduced to one another. He friend requested me, and I was like, I don't know who this person is, but he goes to my school, and so I was like, oh, it'd be really interesting to meet someone and make friends. So he just goes on to talk about how he's a teacher and how he loves the classroom and his passions and things like that. And we kind of started bonding because I was working at a school, or I had just left so that I could go to college, and education was a path that I had gone down for a really long time. So when I saw that in him, I was like, oh, we could be really good friends. This is super cool and super chill. And then the conversation just kept going, and we started flirting, and I will say that this was at the end of my marriage. So I eloped to someone the beginning of that year, and by June I knew I was done. And I know that it was wrong to be talking to someone else while I still lived with the guy that I was still married to. We weren't officially divorced, but I was done, and I was like, hey, we need to file for divorce, this needs to happen. So we started flirting back and forth. I told him that I haven't had the pleasure of seeing him play, but I'm sure he'd do great. He said he would blush and whatever. And then I told him where I lived, he told me where he lived, and then he said that it would be really easy for us to hang out because it was only a 45-minute drive. And then we just kind of keep talking about things that we liked and interests, and it really just gave us a greater bond. Even though he was a couple years younger than me, I felt like we could potentially be friends or more because I thought he was cute. But and then he sent me a message on Facebook saying that he had this idea and that I should go with it, and he gave me his phone number, so I gave him mine, and we started texting back and forth. And that's kind of when everything spiraled, basically. And about a month later, so it was on January 13th, that's when things started to slowly fall apart. So you can see from these messages that I asked him, are you working tomorrow? And he says, shouldn't matter if I do or not. And I was like, okay, don't know what your problem is. So apparently I was being a jerk. He goes on to say that his friend from work invited him to go bungee jumping, and he made sure to say I already said yes to her. February 2nd, 2016, I told him cuddling with him was my favorite. I sent him a little article about timing being wrong because it felt like every time that we would hang out that things would go wrong. I would make him upset, he'd get mad about something, I'd have to leave his house because he'd be furious, and it was just a very stressful situation. And so he responded with, guess I wasn't worth your inconvenience, buddy. I told him that it really spoke to me, and he was just saying you'll find someone, whatever. And then the very last message that we sent each other was that night is when everything started, and the next morning is when everything hit the fan. I told him I missed him, he told me he missed me more, and basically that was the end of that. So that is how we met. There was an overlap with my other relationship, and I wouldn't consider it cheating because we were already filing for divorce and it was just a messy situation. That is another story time. That is like something I don't really want to talk about right now. So the very first time that we like really started hanging out, I did end up going to his house and we watched a movie together. I'm pretty sure it was like 50 Shades or something. And he said to me, "You may hear bad things about me on campus, but they're not true." That should have been red flag number one. Apparently he was in Greek life and he got kicked out of Greek life, but he like quit Greek life. I don't know. I'll never know, and I really just don't care at this point what happened. That's what he told me. That definitely put me in the mindset of like, don't talk about him, don't like tell my friends that I'm seeing this guy, don't do any of that. It's such a toxic thing to think about that is how we started our relationship and like seeing each other, but that is how it started. And then I feel like everything just it just got really bad after that. So some of the other things that happened, I had purchased tickets to go to a concert, a country concert, and I was really excited about going. And my ex saw that I purchased the tickets and was like, "Oh, so like, are you taking me? I'm really excited." And I sent him a heart. Now, if you know me, you know that I send hearts for everything. If I don't know what to say because I'm super awkward, I will just send a heart just to like stop the conversation. The guy that I was seeing was so angry and so upset about what happened. So I remember we were at a bar and we were getting drinks, and I told him that I was meeting my friend Gage to help him with homework. Now, he did not want me hanging out with certain people, especially guys that were in Greek life, because these guys knew who he was and what he was capable of and like things he did to his ex-girlfriend. And so when I told him, he got so furious. It just was extremely uncomfortable, and I was drunk and we took an Uber there and my car was at his place and everything was in his house, so I didn't really know what to do. I was texting my friend Richard and I was like, "Hey, so like, are you around? Can you like come pick me up?" And he was like, "I'm really worried about you." So I went to the bathroom, left my phone there because he knew my passcode. He went in to my phone. I didn't think that he would. I wasn't thinking about it at all because I was drunk. I came back and he had deleted Gage off of my Facebook and a bunch of other people, all guys. And when we were leaving the bar, he told me that to prove that I was gonna give him the ticket that I bought for both of us, because I did buy them so I could go with him, that he was gonna take my cross necklace, which I don't wear anymore because it reminds me of him, but he was gonna take that as collateral and keep it until I gave him his ticket. Yeah, red flag number two. So other things that happened is I took a shower at his place because I would sleep over very often, and when I was brushing my hair, he just stopped and looked at me and was like, "Wow, your hair's really thin." So I just looked at him and was like, "Hey, don't ever say that to me ever again." And then he just like walked away like it was nothing. Other things that he would say to me, which were very like mentally abusive, were, "I'm surprised that I'm attracted to you because the girls that I usually date and sleep with don't look like you. We could do other positions or try new things, but you're too big and most of the girls that I sleep with are smaller than you." He literally told me that guys on campus would not like me because of my weight. So before you even think anything, because obviously I've gained weight, I mean, my brother died, I was assaulted, like 2016 was not the year. I was 40 pounds lighter than I am right now. I'm a size 12. I was 40 pounds lighter. I was like a size 10, very small. Girl looked good. I was unhealthy by the end of this relationship, but I was so skinny, and for him to say these things to me was so damaging. Everything was just building. So one thing that he did also was that I wasn't allowed to see any other guys. I couldn't date other guys, but he could see as many girls as he wanted, which he did. I remember one night we were like laying in bed together and he had his arm around me and we were just cuddling and I was like laying on his chest, you know, that like typical girl thing. And he was literally texting a girl and was like, "Oh, that's so hot. Like, oh my God, I wish I could see you right now." Like while I was cuddling with him. And in one of the court meetings that we had, that was brought up that I took his phone away from him. At that time, this was a separate time, I had just made him dinner, like a dinner I've never made anyone else. It was very special, and we were watching TV and just like hanging out and eating dinner, and I thought it was really sweet, and he was like complimenting me, and then he was texting girls on his phone. So I like playfully took his phone and put it down on the table and was like, "Hey, like hang out with me," kind of thing. Something else that happened that was definitely a red flag is that he went to this like super sketchy dive bar bar by my old university, and it's called Bogart's. It's like the place where like college kids go and like puke on the walls. It's really gross. So anyways, he went there and apparently saw his ex-girlfriend. She has a restraining order against him, which definitely should have been a red flag as well. He saw her and like almost fought her boyfriend or something like that because it was quote unquote his place and she knew that it was his place. That's not normal. And then as we progressed, some of the things that happened are we were kind of like on and off from like being friends and then like dating and seeing each other and then being friends and then like dating and seeing each other. And then at one point I remember going to the library and he like broke up with me. And then when I left a couple days later when we were talking again, he told me that there were girls sitting there and they were telling him like, oh, good for you, like for breaking up with her, whatever. And like there's literally no one there. Like I looked around and I was like, okay, so you're gonna break up with me for literally no reason at all, and he wouldn't talk to me. And I just remember like raising my voice like a little, probably how I'm talking right now, and he's like, be quiet, there are people. And I looked around, there's like literally no one in the library. It was like 9 o'clock at night. Also, like anytime a guy would text me, he would look at my phone, and then when my ex would text me, he'd get super mad and they'd be like, you don't have to lie to me. As I'm sitting here editing this video, but I realized I forgot to add something super important. There was one night when we were intimate together, and as that was happening, he asks me, this is literally what happened, are you mine? And I was like what kind of a question is that? Who asks these things? So I said yes, because like, I don't know, that I was scared, I was terrified, I was confused. Like, who asked that question? Like, you're their property. And after I said yes, he said, do you promise? And I said yes again, because like terrified. So yeah, you're not someone's property. That was definitely the biggest red flag before this last red flag. And this was, I believe, about a week or so before the incident actually happened. But I think above everything that happened, one of the craziest things that happened that was like a sign we should not be together is that every time we were together, something bad happened. I either made him mad, he would like hurt my feelings by saying something really stupid and idiotic. So this one time we went to go for a walk in his neighborhood, which I guess was like super sketchy where he lived. He was like, okay, so I'm gonna run around like this part of the block. I'm just gonna meet you there because I'm gonna be super quick. And I was like, okay, cool. I misunderstood what he meant. I walked around like the little neighborhood on the side and then poked out and like I didn't see him. So I was like, oh, maybe like he's still running around or he took a break. Like, I don't know. And I was scared because I was by myself in like this place I've never been before. I went around the block and I would come out and look for him. Didn't see him. So I'd go again and do the same thing. I start walking to the park that we're supposed to go to after he went running. So I start walking in that direction and I didn't have my phone. I didn't have my bag. I didn't have anything, my car, nothing. Like everything was at his place. So I was like, okay, well, I don't exactly know where I am. So I just started walking the direction that we were supposed to meet. I'm looking around, and like don't see him. So then I start freaking out even more. He comes, he like ran to get my car and then was like driving down the street when I decided to turn around and come back. And he parked and I got in the car. And when I'm really nervous, I laugh. It's like a like, oh my God, I'm so sorry thing. And so we got to his house. He went inside and sat on the stairs in his house and was like, I can't breathe, like my chest hurts, like where were you? It's not funny. Like I was running around looking everywhere. I was worried. I didn't know if something happened to you. And then I was like, I was scared. Like I didn't know where I was. What was I supposed to do? He was like, you need to leave. Like you really just need to leave. And the way that his body was and the way that he was acting was terrifying. I can't even explain how scared I felt. But then going home, I was sobbing and crying and I was like, why am I with this guy? Like what's happening? And that was at the beginning, like when we first started talking and hanging out, that this happened. That is basically the start of us dating. I hope that this made sense. In the next video, I'm gonna talk about how things went from being like that to the scariest end of my life where I thought I was gonna die. And then I'm also gonna talk about like signs that we were actually dating, because that is definitely something that he tried to fight in court, which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm gonna talk about my experience with going through court. I'm gonna talk about what to ask for, what to look for. I'm gonna talk about restraining orders. I'm gonna talk about everything that I wish I had known when I went through this so that I can give you advice. Hopefully you can learn from like my mistake. If you have have been through something like this or you're going through it now, I'm so sorry. And I really hope that this video helps you in some way, because I didn't have anyone there really for me. It was a really hard time for me, and so I really just hope that someone out there can get something from this story time. And I will be uploading the next video soon. I'm hoping within the next week. I did just come back from the trial, and so I'm just ready to kind of like move past it. And thank you so much for watching and for listening. And then I guess question for the day is, do you know anyone who is in a toxic relationship, and what have you done to try to get them out of that relationship? I think it's really important that as friends and peers that we really step up and we're there for those people, you know? And that's something that I didn't really have that I wish I did. But that is it for this story time video. I hope that you guys liked it. I'm sorry if it was all over the place. I tried to remember as many things as possible. Look out for the next one. And if you have any questions, DM me, let me know. Write me on Instagram. I'm always looking at my messages there. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.